around 23-24% before Tifnubu took over. By the time Tifnubu took charge, up to now, right, the food inflation is more than over 100% today. Officially, they say it is 44%, which is a lie. Abi, if a bag of rice was 27,000 naira in 2023, and a bag of rice is today 90,000 naira a bag, is that a 44% increase? Is that 44% inflation? That is more than a 200% inflation. But again, you should be happy it's coming down. So Obi and BALA in Bauchi. It is a long watch. Kindly watch this. We are going to start from that.
For personal interests. You see, the government in power relish in being undertakers in different parties. We will use knowledge, tact, and strategy to transcend all this, to go beyond their estimation in such a manner that we'll come with a framework that will give you as latitude to actualize our collective aspiration of providing good governance to Nigerians, irrespective of the bad interferences, permutations, or plans of those people who think that they can scuttle democracy through all the means that is in their hands, through the power of coercion, or even interference in the judiciary and so on and so forth. We will transcend all that, and that's the plan. Thank you.
Platforms to resolve the problems in Nigeria, looking at them from different political parties.
Thank you. We just started a discussion. You know, you can't consummate a marriage in one day. You have to meet and talk. We just started, I told you we've been talking, we just started talking. But the most important thing is that our talks centered on issues that bother the ordinary Nigerian. We want to see a Nigerian where a child of nobody will be somebody. Because we are once child of nobody. When I was coming here, she was telling me her background, what the parents used to do, how she grew up and was able to go to Federal Government College and became a minister. I used to go to school in my own parents' car, same school with the driver, my mother's driver. The children were in the same school. Today is all finished. We want to give a Nigerian child a hope, a future to live. That's our discussion first. And when you find all this is working together, you remove all those elite conspiracy of tribalism, religion, all sorts of things they used to measure themselves. We want to see you now as a competent person who have the capacity, compassion, no longer telling me the reason I have to follow you is because you're from here. We have voted tribe. We voted the religion. We now want to deal with competency, the capacity, and compassion. Because we want to move the country forward. So this is our discussion is ongoing. And I'm sure my sister, you'll be part of it. We want people like you to thrive. No longer what we're doing here, where people get up and say, no. We want to empower women as well. They should be able to hold 75%, 25% effectively in our political consideration and corporate world. Because women are engine of growth. They care about family. These are things we want to do. But that's going forward. Thank you. But frankly, the government of APC under the president's regime has done very well. Because remember, when the president was campaigning, he said he would continue from where Buhari stopped. And if you check it, Buhari stopped the dollar at about 400. It's now 1,006. So it's done very well. The very small price was about 30,000. It's now over 100,000. Beans was about 40,000. It's now over 100,000. I can go on and on. Everything have doubled and tripled. Fuel was about 200, 300, instead of 1,000. So you can say the government has done very well in as they promised. And that's what we must all know now. The government has just said, we are coming together for the future of this better society our children will live in. It is not about ourselves again. We have been wasted enough time in this country. We now want to invest. Yes, you're right. I'm just like Indonesia. I want Nigeria to be like an Indonesia. A president was sworn in Indonesia in 2014. Another one was sworn in Nigeria in 2015. So two governments came in. By 2024, 10 years after, that government in Indonesia moved their GDP from about 800 billion to 1.5 trillion. Per capita from about 3,000 to about 5,000. In our own, our GDP in 2014 was over $500 billion with a per capita of almost 3,500. By 2024, we were down to GDP of $200 billion and per capita of below $2,000. That is the difference. So if I wear this, I'm wearing it out of, this is where we want to go. We want to have improvement. We are a country of about 213 million. Indonesia is about 280 million. They have about 4,000 universities. We have less than 200 universities, less than 5%. I can go on and on. I traveled to Indonesia with two of my colleagues who are Muslims. And I asked them for after 1 week of visiting everybody, including the former president and everything, did you see one Almajiri here? Not one. Reason, they invested in education. I have been and financed and supporting about 3 Almajiri schools now, am I right? Up to 4 of them. And there I found the most brilliant people in the world. Young kids in their 10s were able to memorize the Quran. If they can't go to school, I'll take school to them. Because they will take their engineering there. They will learn, they will become doctors from there. They will take everything from there. We want to pull them out of poverty. I want them all to return to where the industries in Bombay, Shradan 1, Shradan 2 in Kano is working. We want to see the textile companies in Kaduna. We want things to change. So it's not about anything. This hasn't changed. Things have deteriorated. That's exactly what it is. And that's why we want to turn it around. That's why he said with timelines. It's no longer, Nigerians are not fed up of promises. We want to invest in critical areas of development, education, health, and pulling people out of poverty. That is not the news you see here. The news you see in our country today is the news of every day one drama or the other. We want to end the drama so that we can watch film in the evening, discuss my business in the day.
Peter Obi with BALA Mohammed. But it sounds good, right? That sounded like nice to say people have voted religion, they have voted individuals, they have voted tribes. So it is time for them to vote competency, character, and all that stuff, right? I'm not going to say that Peter Obi is naive of these guys. You know, I'm not going to really say that, but there's something we should point out. He's talking about building Alimajiri schools. You know, he's built 3. Jonathan built over 1,000 of such schools. Blocks of a classroom for the Alimajiris across the 13 Sharia state of northern Nigeria. Guess what? It was after he visited the Chena Emir of Bauchi, or something, in 2015. The mob were outside that palace, waiting for Jonathan to come out. Immediately he left the palace, they started pelting him with stones, sticks, and what have you. That was a man that indeed, and the only person, right, who has actually shown beyond just talk, shown commitment beyond just talks. He built schools, make them free. And the Boko Haram and their sponsor and in northern Nigeria said, good luck, Jonathan was planning to convert their children to Christians. That's why he's sending them to schools. That the children who were supposed to stay at their fast or these clerics places begging with the bowl of, the alms bowl in their hands, right? That the Jonathan's idea was going to take these children away from Allah and therefore convert them to Christian. That's even one of the greatest undoing of a Jonathan in northern Nigeria. If some of you can still remember. I'm just trying to remind you. He has built 3, right? Jonathan built hundreds of that schools in northern Nigeria, and all of them, every one of them, right, is abandoned. They are never to be used. Ever. Up to this moment. For 8 years of Bokwari, there was not a single classroom or a block of classroom built by Bokwari for these Alimajiris in northern Nigeria. So I'm not going to say he's naive. He knows them, I believe. And somehow, if not for the politics of hatred and politics of religion, which the likes of BALA Mohammed, El Rufaya, and others have championed for years, and they've benefited from it as well. Seriously, in northern Nigeria, you and I, even if you are a Muslim, you are considered not Muslim enough. So you and I are called infidels. In northern Nigeria, something happened in Kaduna. Kaduna, that is a majorly Christian state, is presented as an Islamic state by these fanatics and these murderers. By the way, while they continue to fund the genocide, ethnic cleansing, and religious killings in southern Kaduna. You see, remember Yakowa? There was a governor in Kaduna State called Yakowa, Patrick Yakowa. He died in an helicopter. Is it a helicopter crash or a plane crash? Right? So those of you who is, all of you watching me right now, if you were from Kaduna State in Nigeria that year, or you are from some other core part of northern Nigeria that year that Yakowa crashed in a plane crash and died, the celebration, you see, the Islamic clerics, especially those ones in Kaduna, they were actually celebrating the crashing and the death of that guy. It was so massive that the celebration even got to areas like Kano, Sokoto, Katsina, Kerbi, where again, Zamfara, Borno, that they actually took to the streets to celebrate that an infidel died. An infidel is somebody who is not a Muslim to them, that must never be allowed to get closer to the seat of power. Infidel must not rule over these fanatics. It is like an inner thing. Even in this what's it called, interview granted by El Rufaya, the Kaduna Little Finger, 2 days ago to the BBC Hausa, he said when the race towards 2023 was kind of like heated up, right? That Tinubu sent the Yoruba Muslims called Southwest Mullahs or something. They were sent to Kaduna to go and plead with El Rufaya and say, this Tinubu's project is a Muslim project, and the Muslims from the southern, from the western Yoruba land, right? They are supporting this Tinubu, and they believe that the only person who can help them champion that cause in northern Nigeria was El Rufaya, the Kaduna Little Finger. the evil man, right? And he told them that, but Tifnubu wasn't a Muslim, a real Muslim. He said it in that interview. If you have not heard it, right? It is in Hausa. That's why I didn't bring it here, It's not worth it. So in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, it is purely about religion, never about competence, never about a character, never about what you have to offer. It is mainly about religion first. Everything else is secondary. And this Bala Mohammed is also an agent of that. So I have seen some of them who have said that the only way Peter Obi can become your can get closer to power will be to be a vice president. So somebody from northern Nigeria who is a Muslim. So again, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to probably, emphasize more on the possibility of his naivety. But we are here to see how this is going to play out at the end of the day. You see, to those of you who knows that you have to mingle with the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Indeed, if you want to probably take power, well, we are likely saying the same thing, that, you see, the destroyers of this contraption, those who have destroyed this Nigeria, including those who have benefited from the rot, right? They must never be part of the solution. But if for any reason you believe that they can put Obi at the top and these rots, these rogues can be at the bottom, all that matter is just to get the power. After getting the power, you can do whatever you like with it. So that will possibly kind of negate the beliefs that those who contributed to this rot will never be part of the solution, in my own book. All right. So we'll see how this plays out. Okay. So far, so good. El Rufai, that is championing his SDP, right? He has attracted, what's that guy's name? The Abacha's henchman, Al Mustafa, right? And they are the APC, Egbekegbe. They are doing their best as well to kind of like downplay the significance or importance of El Rufai's opposition crusade to them, right? Tifnubu is a strategist, that wherever they are trying to form any coalition, you will see Tifnubu's men within. And I agree, not as a strategist, but the fact that you have a compromised system where majority of those who claim to be opposition in Nigeria are pure controlled opposition. Majority of them are in bed with Tifnubu. And Tifnubu is somebody who believes that whatever money cannot do, more money will do it, right? So Obi can't go it alone. I agree. But at the same time, he can also be compromised enough that at the end of it all, those who is going to mingle with, who are going to offer their supposed strategy, they will be offering him Tifnubu's strategy, Tifnubu's idea of what an opposition should be like, on and on like that. So the rest of you, right, would then be possibly, a willing tool that they are going to need to validate the coming rigging. So if you want to go into any election, apart from this, your coalition that you are forming, if you want to go into any election, you can't go into any election in the current setting. No, you can't. Except if you're just deceiving yourselves, willing to waste your resources and even people's lives. So if opposition that cannot shut down the entire contraption demand for the change in some of these laws that will possibly, guide your election, there's no point in going into any goddamn election at all. But that's for me. That's why I won't go into any. But for those who are preparing to, some of the tidbits of information you need to have an idea what your 2027 charade is going to look like. And I will be here to keep record again. This morning, the Akwabioli's Senate they have taken their shenanigans to another level. Yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, when Natacha reported Akwabiole to the Interparliamentary Union of the United Nations, right? Telling them about her suspension, where she was not even given any fair hearing.